This video we're going to be discussing Linux fundamentals. The first thing I want to teach you guys is the basic commands such as echo. So echo outputs any text we provide, and the echo command is a foundational terminal tool used to display text, inspect system variables, and dynamically log script progress. It is also essential for quickly writing data to files and piping strings into other commands for immediate processing. The other command is who am I, and it finds out what user we're currently logged in as. Very useful in CTFs. The next thing I want to discuss is interacting with the file system. So we have lists, which lists files in our current directory. We also have CD, which stands for change directory, pretty self-explanatory. If you do the two dots afterwards, that goes back one space. And then we have pwd, which prints the working directory. And we also have cat, which outputs the content of a file. So for example, we had cat and payload.php, which is from our previous CTF video, and it then pasted the contents of that file. Yep, PHP, finding full path to current working directory. The next thing is searching for files. I like to use the command find, and then inside of that CUPP folder, any screenshots will come up. We also have grep, which finds, so in this example, we have grep system payload.php, and it'll find any line of code or text that contains the word system. Shell operators, very useful. The and allows you to run commands in the background of your terminal. Two ands in a row allows you to combine multiple commands together in one line of your terminal. The greater than symbol is a redirector, and two of them is a redirector. However, it appends the output to the bottom of the text file rather than replacing what the single greater than symbol does. Secure shell, we have SSH tryhackme at 10.80.184.24 as an example. This allows us to remotely execute commands on another device. Flags/switches, which is pretty much similar things. We have the -a, which stands for all. We have -- for help. It lists possible options that the command accepts. And we also have man, which is documentation on command, which stands for manual. Here's an example I pulled up when I was getting the screenshots for this demo. We have list -- help, and it then will show you all the possibilities. We also have the manual version of this. Moving on to file system interaction continued, we have touch, which creates a file, make directory, which creates a folder. I should say folder rather. CP is copy a file or folder. MV stands for move a file or folder or even rename. RM stands for remove a file or folder, and file determines the type of file it is. So permissions 101. So the first three, next three, last three. First three is for the owner, the next three is for the group, and last three for others. Here, if you look at the symbolic example, we break it up into threes. So the first three would be the owner's privileges, then the middle three would be the group's privileges, and then the last three would be others. So R stands for read privileges, W stands for write privileges, and X stands for execute privileges, with the values of 4, 2, 1 respectively. So this symbolic here compares to this numeric of 755, which basically means owners can do everything, others can read and execute, as well as groups can read and execute. Why is numeric important? So it's important for this command chmod, which is used to change file or directory permissions, with the example command being chmod 755 file, which will then configure these privileges to that file. We also have the command su, which lets you log into another user from the terminal even as root. Common directories, we have etc., variable data, root, and temporary. Really good for when you are doing enumeration on a website for bug bounties, for example. We also have terminal text editors, Vim. We have Nano, and we have Mousepad. ones to keep in mind. I really like Mousepad, but play around with the other two as well. There's others as well, Sublime Text, which you'll see when we do our mini demo within this video. But moving on to utilities, we have wget, which allows us to download files from the web via HTTP. We have SCP, a means of securely copying, transferring files between two computers using SSH. We have the curl command. It's going to get a little bit technical, but the curl command is a very, very useful command. The basic syntax is curl, and then your options, and then the URL. So what you can do with curl is you can fetch data from APIs. So curl this, and then it will return JSON data. You can download files, so curl-o myfile.zip, and then the URL. You can send data to servers, so curl-X post lowercase -d, name is equal to John and age is equal to 19, and then the URL. You can test web endpoints. You can also automate web requests, curl-H authorization bearer token, so it adds headers. You can show response headers using the -I. You can follow redirects using -L, and you can also show full request / response details with -V. Why is curl important? So quick testing without a browser, downloading scripts or files, checking if a website / API is working. Moving on to processes 101, we have PS command, which provides a list of the running processes as our user's session. We have PS aux, which see processes run by other users and those that don't run from a session. We also have top, which gains insight into your system. So this is what the output would be for PS aux, as well as top. Managing processes, we also have kill, PID, kill command. What is PID? A PID is a process identifier, which is a unique numerical ID assigned by the operating system kernel to everything running process or program on a device. It allows the OS to track, allocate resources to, and manage, such as pausing or terminating that specific instance of execution. Getting processes, we use the command system CTL option service. We have 5 options: start, enable, status, stop, disable. And this is an example of how to get the services that your Linux has available. So to see every service installed in the machine, including those that are inactive, disabled or failed, you type this command, systemctl list-unit-files space -- type equals to service. And backgrounding and foregrounding in Linux. So once you're running a command and it's still running, you can do Control+Z to background a process or pause execution of script. And then to bring it back into the foreground, you can do FG to bring back to focus. Automation, these are things called cron tabs, but basically cron tabs process requires 6 values, so minute, hour, day of the month. MON stands for the month, day of the week. 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be, and then command. So you have home, cmn, attic, /document, /variable, /backups. What does this mean? Well, if we do not wish to provide a value, we will do the dash sign, and CRUD tabs can be edited by using crudtabs.e. But basically, if you want a command to happen at a particular time, let's say Wednesday 6 p.m. weekly, then you could type a command and you would use cron tabs to enable that automation process. You should definitely play around with that, but I'm just trying to bring these things to your attention so that you know, because you don't know what you don't know. So now that this is something at the forefront of your mind, you can continue to learn and play around with these things. We have package management, which can add community repositories to your list and extend the capabilities of your OS. So add-apt-repository can install software using dpkg, and you need to add a GNU privacy guard key, GPG key, when downloading software. This is for a safety check. We're now going to go into a quick demo. So this is the command that we'll be using to download sublime.txt, the text editor. So Q stands for quiet, which means to turn off wget's output so it doesn't display the download progress bar or logs in your terminal. And the capital O output tells wget to save the downloaded file under a specific name instead of its default name. A hyphen after O is a special trick in Linux. It tells the tool to stream the downloaded content straight to standard output, stdout, instead of saving it to a file on your disk. This allows the pipe to pass the data directly into the next command. So gpg-dir more converts the text-based GPG public key into a binary format. Sudo t safely writes that binary data into a new file in your system's trusted key directory. Just a side note as well, apt-key was an old tool used to manage the GPG public keys that verify software authenticity in Linux, but it posed a major security risk by dumping all keys into a single global keyring where any third-party developer's key was trusted to sign system-wide updates. It has been replaced by a sign-by practice of cryptographic isolation, where you download the key, convert it to a binary format using gpg-dir, save it as an independent file, and explicitly configure your repository to use only that specific key. Sandboxing the trust and protecting your system if a third-party repository is ever compromised. Now that we have added this key to our trusted list, we can now add Sublime Text repository to our apt sources list. A good practice is to have a separate file for every different community third-party repository that we add. So let's create a file named sublime.-text.list in -etc-apt-sources.list.d and enter the repository information like so. And now we use Nano or a text editor of your choice to add and save the Sublime Text 3 repository into this newly created file. So to just explain this, deb means the repository contains pre-compiled ready to install binary packages. So the sign by and then finishing with GPG in the square brackets is the modern security mechanism that replaced apt-key. It implements cryptographic isolation. It tells apt when you download packages, you must use only this specific public GPG key, sublime hq.gpg, to verify the digital signature. So the next bit with the HTTPS is the web address, the Uniform Resource Identifier, where the remote repository is hosted. This is where your system sends requests when you run sudo apt update. And then apt/stable/ tells apt exactly which path or directory branch to look into on the Sublime Text server. apt/targets the architecture suite layout for the apt package manager, and stable/ specifies the release channel. You are telling it you want the tested, reliable version of the software rather than a beta or a dev branch. After we have added this entry, we need to update apt to recognize this new entry. This is done using the apt update command. Once successfully updated, we can now proceed to install the software that we have trusted and added to apt using apt install sublime-text. To open Sublime Text, you just use the command subl. To completely clean up and remove Sublime Text, along with the repository settings we just created, you need to undo the steps in reverse order. So step 1 is to install the Sublime Text application. Then we need to remove the repository configuration file. And the third step is to remove the GPG security key. And the final step is to update your package manager. So this is the quick little demo on package management in action. Cool. Moving on now, we have logs. So important logs are Apache 2, which is a reliable open source HTTP web server. We have fail to ban, which is a that monitors brute force attempts. Then we also have UFW service, which is a firewall. We also have access logs and error logs. So checking the service statuses, you can use systemctl status to see if the services are running, their PIDs and their recent activity. So for Apache 2, failed to ban, UFW firewall. And viewing the important logs. So system logs are typically stored in var and log, but the best way to view them is using tail-f, which follows the file and updates your terminal in real time as new events occur. So the Apache 2 access log tracks every incoming request to your web server, and this is the command that you would use. The Apache 2 error log tracks server diagnostics, crashes, and PHP errors, and this is the command that you would use. Failed to ban log tracks banned IPs and authentication monitoring. And UFW firewall logs tracks blocked/allowed packets, usually routed to syslog or kernel logs. And this is the command that you'd use. Final tip, if you just want to open a log file to read it like a document without streaming it live, you can replace tail-f with less. Here's the example, and press Q to exit when you're done. Perfect. Hopefully this is a nice, short, sharp, less than 20-minute video about the Linux fundamentals. If you want me to deep dive into any other concepts, leave a comment. And thank you, and I'll see you in the next few videos. Got more cool stuff coming. Thank you.